That Colorado shooter trial to bring you a very important segment here on Fox 10 News Now. Joining me is Sergeant Vidaure and Glendale Police's Public Information Officer, Tracey Breeden. They are here today, specifically today, because it is Denim Day. And for those of you who don't know what Denim Day is, it's basically a day where people are encouraged to wear denim to raise awareness for sexual assault. But I want you to go into more detail on Denim Day, Tracey. I know that Glendale Police are doing a lot to just raise awareness.
Yes. Yeah, this is unprecedented for a police department to do this, to wear jeans with their uniform. And we're aware that we're the only department in the state that's doing this. Some of the larger agencies like Los Angeles Police Department and New York Police Department participate. So this is our second year doing this. And basically what Denim Day is back in 1999 in Italy, a high court overturned a rape conviction when a 45-year-old man had raped a 18-year-old girl. And basically the high court declared that the reason that it was overturned was because the victim was wearing very tight jeans, and because she had to help the suspect remove her jeans.
She consented.
They declared it consensual sex rather than rape. And this outraged women in the parliament. So they protested on the steps of the parliament, and it became a national day of protest called Denim Day. And it's worldwide. So this is not something that's just local. This is a worldwide day of protest to bring awareness to sexual assault. And the purpose of it is to eliminate those erroneous beliefs and those attitudes around sexual assault. And some of those attitudes are just the way we treat sexual assault victims when they come forward, when they disclose that they've been raped. A good example, just to give you a comparison, is if there was a car wreck and somebody was hurt in an intersection, our friends and loved ones wouldn't show up on scene and say, hey, you should have took the bus, or you should have took a different route and this wouldn't have happened to you. But that's the way we respond to rape victims. Our community tends to have those stereotypes and those attitudes of, well, you shouldn't have been in a bar, or you shouldn't have been wearing that type of clothing and this wouldn't have happened to you.
You should have been walking by yourself.
Exactly. And so we believe, for us, that's the most important thing for us is, one, to raise awareness, to also provide support for rape victims, because only about 55 to 60% of rapes that occur are not reported to police. And part of that is because of the response that these rape victims receive from their friends, their family, from law enforcement, from the community, from medical professionals. And so part of that is encouraging people to start by believing and provide that support to rape victims. The other, we also want to hold offenders accountable. That's important to us. So it's a twofold. It's holding people accountable for doing this, raising awareness, but it's also providing support to rape victims and getting that message out to the public that it's time to start believing. And it's time to provide support and quit judging people when they come forward and disclose rape. Because the majority, they'll tell you that a very small percentage, in fact, the majority of rapes, the women are telling the truth. So why are you judging them and questioning them when they come forward?
Real quick, want to read just some of the comments. Rachel's saying, yay, Glendale PD, thank you for Denim Day. I'm a sexual assault and rape survivor. This means a lot to me. Thank you for what you do. So just wanted to point that out. So follow-up question to that, how often do the rape victims know the person that assaults them?
Most of the time, it's somebody known to the victim. It's, we tend to have that stereotype that we see in the movies, that it's some guy or somebody jumps out behind a bush and attacks somebody. That's not what it is most of the time. Sometimes, but that happens very rarely. The majority of rapes that occur by somebody known to the victim. So that's important. That's a false belief that's out there. And so we tend to prepare people or give people tips for something that doesn't normally occur when we need to be talking to them about following their intuition, their gut feeling. That, a rape survivor will tell you how important that is, and how also that a victim you don't always respond the way you think your body should. We train ourselves, we'll scream, we'll fight, we'll do those things. But when a person when they get traumatized or something happens, your body doesn't always react that way. So that's part of the education too, is educating people on that victim mentality and what they go through when they experience something like this. And that's just another thing. That's another erroneous attitude that we have. That, well, you should have. Why didn't you scream? Why didn't you fight? Why didn't you do those things? And the fact of the matter is that sometimes mentally and physically our bodies will not react that way when we're under trauma or experiencing a traumatic event.
And I think just adding to that, at least when I'm listening to you and given the fact that a lot of them know the assaulter, do you feel like that may prevent them from coming forward because they have a personal relationship with the person that assaults them? Let's say it was a family member or a friend or,
Well, again, it plays, it possibly could, and again, it plays into that reaction. How are those people going to respond when when a rape survivor or a rape victim comes forward? And that's why it's important, and that's why we're really pushing that you start by believing and you provide that person support immediately. But yes, that can play into it, the shame and guilt involved in the fact that they may know this person, or because of all these attitudes and these stereotypes, they think maybe they've done something wrong to cause it. And that's difficult for them to come forward. And again, I think our rape survivor who we partnered with, who's here today, can really speak to that and how difficult that is to do.
We'll be speaking with her in just a few minutes. I have a question though. When someone does decide to come forward and report a sexual assault, what is the process typically like on your end?
Would you like to address
Well,
that?
the initial response would be by a patrol officer to respond to a call for service, whether it was the hour after, the week after, a year after. We're going to come out and we're going to speak to that victim and find out what occurred. They're going to contact our detectives who work sexual assaults. They'll be contacted. They'll respond to our advocacy center. The advocacy center is the key piece in all of this. It brings both the investigative and the enforcement part with the law enforcement, the Glendale Police Department, into the same building, where we have resources from Scottsdale Healthcare that have nurses that are trained to do forensic examinations, not just the regular medical examination to check for injuries and the welfare of the patient or the victim, but to also identify and document things of evidence, so that combined with the expertise of both the medical person and the investigator can ultimately lead to justice for the victim. And we have that in one place out of convenience for the victim. When it comes to somebody reporting that they've been victimized, we're there for them. We're there on their timeline, at their comfort level, and we'll move ahead at whatever speed they're okay with. We want to get away from victimizing victims. We're there to help them move forward and to continue their quality of life rather than have them go in the opposite direction.
And you've mentioned...
I was going to say, and I just wanted to add to what Dave was saying, is if you have a victim who's not ready to report, because think about it, one of the things our detective that works on our team when they're when he's doing his instruction and training, he goes up to the person, he says, I want you to tell me about your last sexual experience and tell me it in detail. How uncomfortable is that to begin with? And now a rape victim has to come forward and talk about in detail what just happened to her or him,
and recount.
So they may not be ready to do that, and they can still come to police, and we will take them to the advocacy center. We will provide them counseling. We will get them the help they need. They can even get the sexual evidence kit done and not have to report yet. So they can go ahead and get that evidence, and they can hold that evidence until they're ready to come forward and talk about it, because they may not be able to mentally or physically talk about it at that point. And it's a very difficult thing to have to relive. So we also want to get that message out there, is that you can come to us and we will get you help through our advocacy center, counseling, whatever it may be. You don't even have to live in the city of Glendale. You can be from anywhere and come in, and we will provide you the help and assistance that you need.
And you guys mentioned really being on the victim's timeline, and whether it's an hour, a week later, a year later. Have you guys witnessed any sort of extreme length of time before a public sort of report? For example, I guess in the media, we saw a lot of women coming out against Bill Cosby recently, and those are accusations from like the 70s and 80s. What do you ever see situations like that here locally?
It's not uncommon for a patrol officer to respond to a person calling to report that perhaps they believe that their child was victimized years and years ago and that just got disclosed.
Right.
It may not be uncommon for an adult to call and disclose because they're finally ready to, that they were victimized as a young child. And this could be 20, 25 years later. They may have just found out that there was other victims. But at any point, when they come to us and ask for help, we want them to understand that we're there for them.
And going back to Denim Day, I see that you guys have these cards right here. I want to show everyone. So you guys are basically passing these out to people who ask why you guys are wearing jeans. Do you guys mind
Exactly.
standing? They can't see that you're wearing jeans. Do you mind just doing it?
This is
now?
not
I'm
the.
gonna- You guys there to the jeans.
This
Okay.
is not our usual uniform, and that's out
Right.
of reason. And that's to create conversation. And it's effective. Just on my way to work this morning at 6:30, I stopped at the local convenience store for a soda. And before I even left the store, 2 different women asked, "Why are you wearing jeans? What's up with that?"
You guys are getting sucked into this?
Yes.
Unbelievable.
John
You'll
Hook.
never leave.
Yeah.
John Hook, we're talking about sexual assault here.
Okay, I'm just checking on that. I'm making sure they're all right.
No laughs right now.
So they wanted to know why in the heck are you wearing blue jeans with your police uniform? That's not allowed. So it allowed us to provide them the cards
Right.
and explain exactly what we were doing and why. And again, it creates that conversation
'Cause it
on a
is
bigger scale.
So weird to see.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's a
Yeah.
way for us to not only show support for what originally occurred in Italy and happens around the world on a daily basis, but also to open up conversation amongst the community, because this isn't something that just the police department can help victims with. They rely on their own networks of friends and family to help them get through this.
Right, right. Well, I know we also have Tiffany and Erin who are going to be speaking with me in just a second. So if there's anything else you want to say on the end of Glendale PD and your advice for people out there who might be victims of sexual assault, then now's the time to do that, because then we'll be speaking with Tiffany and Erin.
Well, I think as far as victims go, we just want to encourage them to come forward and know that we're here to provide them with assistance and help and do whatever we can. We want to get that, we want to get that national hotline out there. So if you need information or help, you can call the national hotline. They'll hook you up with a local advocacy center, get you the help and counseling you need to talk about what's going on. And that is 1-800-656-HOPE is the number for that. And then speaking to the public, again, we just want to say, listen, it's 1 in 5. That means somebody knows somebody.
Right.
And, be that person that starts by believing. Provide them support. Don't judge them when they come forward and disclose. Go, help them go get help. That's the most important thing. And be supportive. And again, start by believing.
Really quick, one additional question that just popped in my head. Let's say you're a resident of Glendale, but the assault occurred somewhere else. Do they turn to you? How does that work then? In terms of...
Well, they can come and we'll provide them help. So they can come to our advocacy center. They can call our police department. And what we'll do is we'll provide them immediate help and assistance through our advocacy center. And then when it comes time to do that report, then we will help them get with the jurisdiction that they need to get with to actually do the report and disclose.
Got it. Well, thank you guys so much. Tracy and David, I really appreciate you guys sharing your insight on this, and I appreciate what you guys are doing, and I know the chat room appreciates it as well. Just a minute, guys. We'll be speaking with a rape victim and a nurse who assists rape victims, so don't go anywhere. I will be showing you the Denim Day website for now. All right, guys, as promised, joining me now is Tiffany Sarmiento.
Yes.
And nurse Erin Messinger. Messenger, got it. Okay. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I was really thrilled when I heard that you guys were going to be able to come in. Now, guys, for those of you watching, Tiffany is a survivor of sexual assault. Erin works with a number of sexual assault victims. First, this question for Tiffany, just now we were talking about how a lot of people are afraid to come forward. Mm-hmm. What's your story? Were you afraid or did you come forward right away?
Well, in my story, first of all, I was drugged. And so when I did, my boyfriend did take me to the hospital right away, and I was a little bit out of it. But I had a kind of a bad experience there. And so what happened was the doctor that was there in the emergency room kind of treated us poorly. And she was kind of like, well, we can't even help you here with a rape kit. And she was telling it, like, I had some sunglasses on because I just felt like I just didn't want to be seen. I didn't want to be there kind of thing. And
like you were still processing everything that happened.
It just happened. And so she was like, well, I need you to take the sunglasses off, and just real rude. So didn't have a great experience there. They didn't even take my blood or urine or anything.
And this is abnormal, right?
You know, unfortunately, a lot of times hospitals and emergency room staff don't really know how to approach somebody who's coming in reporting sex assault. And a lot of times patients don't know where they should respond to, where they can go for help when that happens. Ideally, I work for Honor Health, and we see almost 200 patients a month that are reporting sex assault and strangulation. So ideally, we'd like to see them in our setting. It's a little more private. Mm-hmm. It's not crazy and busy like emergency rooms. We have our specialized equipment there, and it's just a more quiet, peaceful atmosphere and a better environment for sex assault patients.
So then what happened when they didn't have...
So then I decided that I wanted to leave, and my boyfriend too. He's like, let's just go, because he was kind of not happy with the way they were treating us. She had already said, well, we're calling the cops to come down here, but at that time I just wanted to leave. So I left, and because of the drugs and everything else, like, I went home, and I went to my boyfriend's sister's, and I slept all day, like till 8 at night. And then, so I didn't end up calling the police until like around 10 at night, 10 p.m.
But it was still within 24 hours of the assault.
It was still within
so it
that
was
time.
Immediate.
And I,
did you...
And one of the reasons, because in my head, I'm like, well, I'm afraid if I don't come forward now, I'll regret it later. Mm-hmm. If I know if I take a shower, I know if I do these things that I can lose a lot of evidence and stuff. So I decided I didn't really want to go through with it, but I just pushed myself to do it. And so that's kind of how it did. It's still, like, some people would even say that's still late. Like, why wait all day and all night, and everybody's reasoning is different, and the trauma behind what happens to you, everybody reacts differently. Until you're in that situation, you just will never know, like, exactly why people do things. And that's kind of one of the reasons I want to speak out, so people can understand and are aware of, like, what's really going on in somebody's mind. Because some of these questions people ask, why this, why that, and they don't understand. So I'm trying to help for people to understand and not judge, and to actually be there and help people that need it.
Right. And one of the things you mentioned was just the fact that you didn't want to lose the evidence on your body. Erin, I'm assuming you can speak more on this. How long does this so-called evidence stay with a woman?
We will do sex assault examinations up to 120 hours or 5 days post an assault. So, and it's not uncommon for people to not report right away. So being able to collect that DNA for up to 5 days really, opens up a lot of options for patients.
So you're able to then So it lasts for 5 days, I
It
guess.
does. Yep. Regardless of how many times somebody's taken a shower, gone swimming, changed their clothes. I mean, we'll ask about all those things, but we will still do all the evidence collection.
Right. Just want to point out Jonathan Blind chiming in. Sorry what you had to go through, Tiffany. I too had to go through this. It's not easy, but you're not alone. Prayers are with you always.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's means a lot, and I think this is just great interaction, and for to actually get in, speak with other people, and to actually reach out to other people, it's just amazing, and it's. I really appreciate your words.
Tiffany, and I think you guys can both speak on this. Well, for you specifically, did you have any sort of emotional issues after the fact, like just
Oh,
reliving the experience?
A ton.
And you said you were drugged, so were you drugged in the sense that you were knocked down and don't remember it really?
Well, it was, and this is another reason. One of the issues is that that I thought is because I actually voluntarily took them, because what it was I was supposed to be doing a dental procedure, and this is somebody that I knew since high school, and he has done dental work on me before, and so that's what I was doing, and that's what I thought I was doing, and so I took the drugs. He gave them to me. I took them,
Right.
but involuntarily, and so that was one of the reasons too that I doubted myself in, like, maybe it's my fault kind of thing, and I shouldn't have put myself in that situation, and I had a lot of guilt and kind of didn't even understand, and I was kind of doubting myself if I was even sexually assaulted. I do remember parts of what happened, and
Like bits and pieces?
yeah, and the best way I could describe it is that when you have a dream, kind of, and you remember your dream,
But you kind of don't.
right, and you remember
Right.
parts, and you also don't have control over your body or your mind. Well, I didn't, for the most part, like, because I didn't, and that was one of the things I thought. I didn't really fight him off, and I didn't use all my strength, and I didn't
Because-
scream, and
You couldn't.
right, and so I was so impaired. I was in and out of it, but those are the first things that crossed my mind, and I was doubting myself, and so those are things like, I mean, and people, even with alcohol, they're like, oh, well, if you drink or whatever, it doesn't matter. Nobody has a right to do that. And those are things that I learned later on. But I did have a lot of, you asked me about, like, aftermath and things I went through. And I went through a lot. And I went through counseling.
I was just going to say therapy.
And yes, and Glendale Police Department provided me with counseling, and up to as much as I needed, and it was free of cost, which is amazing.
Because it can get very
It can,
expensive.
and a lot of places don't cover it for very long. So they did, and I did all that, but I went through. I mean, I was even suicidal at times, and so
After, because you were so upset
yeah,
about it.
and I was also not able to sleep for almost a year. Like, literally, I would not sleep at night, and so it was just a lot of trauma and a lot of things that I went through.
Do you see people coming in just incredibly emotional when they come to see you?
You know what? Everybody reacts to trauma a little bit differently. I've seen patients come in absolutely hysterical. I've seen people come in completely calm, and I've had people joke with me. So, it kind of runs the gamut as far as emotional responses. And I think that's important to point out too, is there is no textbook response to trauma. I've heard a lot of sex assault survivors say that, well, I'm pretty sure I would have done this, or this is how I'm going to react if something like this ever happens to me. And the truth is, you don't know how you're going to react in something like that, even if you have thought about it or kind of
played it
planned
through your
ahead.
head,
Yes. So, absolutely, everybody responds completely differently.
Wow. I know you guys have to leave in just a couple minutes, but I did want to give you just one additional opportunity to say anything else you want to say to the public out there about Denim Day, about sexual assault awareness, and your own experiences for you working in this field and for you experiencing it firsthand. Open forum.
I would just say that there is help available, and there are resources out there. You know, ultimately the patient has to decide whether or not they want to come forward, and that's a big decision to make. But there are nurses specially trained to be able to care for them, and there are people to help them along the way. Glendale Police Department has been a huge influence in that aspect, as far as, you know, letting people know that there's a social stigma associated with sexual assault, and Glendale Police Department is really trying to break that down and let people know that, you know, it happens a lot more than people care to believe, but, you know, there's things that we can do to help make people be able to get through it.
Real quick, Tiffany, before you say your final thoughts, Tiny Magical Creatures, one of our viewers out in the UK saying, I'm catching this late, but sex offenders are scum, and you should feel proud of yourself, Tiffany, for speaking out strong. Your voice is the most powerful thing you have, and nobody can take that away from you.
Oh wow, thank you so
So I just
much.
wanted to read that one because I noticed it.
And you know what? And that's why, I mean, it's really hard for me to speak out. But at the same time, like the whole reason I'm doing this is because I really want, if I could just change one person's life, or reach one person to go ahead and get that help, whether it's just counseling or to go ahead and make the report. That's what I really want. And if anybody out there just wants somebody to talk to, you could Facebook me, message me. You have my name. I'm from Phoenix, but I just want to get my story out there and just be able to connect and reach people that, you know, people were there for me, and I can't thank them enough because it saved my life. And if I can just return that favor to one person, that's all I'm here for, and I really want to try to do. So I really thank you guys for taking the time and doing this, because it means a lot, and I know you guys have a whole bunch of stories and things you could be doing, so it means a lot for us.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming in. Tiffany, you're so
you.
brave for telling your story. And Erin, thank you so much for just the work you do in terms of contributing to survivors of sexual assaults. I mean,
Yes, it's a great job. I really love it, and it's because of people like Tiffany that we do what we do. So there are many success stories out there, and Tiffany's just one of them, and she's so strong and so brave, and it's just amazing that Glendale PD is really working to get that message out there.
all right. Well, thank you guys so much. I really
Thank you.
appreciate it. Guys, we'll be back in just a second. I'm going to throw up this Denim Day website one more time if you want more info, denimdayinfo.org. And remember, Tiffany says you can Facebook message her, so don't hold back.
I'm here. Thank you.